Hi everybody, welcome to week 5 of Global Management. Hope you're hanging in there. We're over the halfway point now, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our topic for this week, and that is government intervention and operations. What happens when a government decides that they want to intervene in the economy? Well, this can affect businesses in a lot of ways. There's the obvious, there's like taxes and tariffs and regulations where one business or one industry might be favored over others, either domestically or a particular sector. This happens all the time. We are going to talk about a theory that takes all of this stuff into account, the reasons why businesses do those sorts of things, and it's a theory called mercantilism. And it's unlike the other major theory that we talked about before, which was liberalism, which espoused comparative advantage and specialization and free trade, all of that. In this approach, we have governments being concerned about maybe global security and how trade might be affecting that, but the main motivator, as opposed to liberalism, where the assumption is that businesses work best when they are pursuing profits, in this case, it assumes that there are people in the government who are interested in power. It may be relative power for their own country versus other countries, so they're going to mess with trade, they're going to mess with business, or it may be personal power, power for the ruling elite. How do we maintain the status quo and make sure that those people who are in power continue to stay in power? Then there's the issue regarding operations. How is it different when businesses operate in the United States versus other places overseas? The first area we're going to be looking into is kind of, I think, an interesting question. What would happen if you were sent someplace as an expatriate? I think that's a good prism to look at the way that things are different in a lot of ways. You know, if you had to go someplace, how would you prepare? How would you handle that? What are the challenges with expatriate management? So again, this is a window in terms of understanding those differences. Obviously, we're going to be continuing on with our cultural discussion, which we started last week. If you remember, I shared some of the cultural artifacts. We even did silly things with hats in some of these videos or live in class in order to illustrate some of the cultural differences. This shirt is called a galabia. I got it in Egypt. It's actually normally runs all the way down to the ankles, but for people like me, I've got sort of like the shirt version of it, right? But again, sort of an illustration of some of the cultural differences, and we will continue that exploration. And you're going to be drawing upon the research that you did last week. Of course, you learned a lot about marketing. We talked about marketing last week, but a lot of this information is really going to strongly apply to HR as well. Whereas marketing, you're thinking about more about what the differences are and how that affects consumer behavior. In this case, you're looking more at the behavior of the worker. You look at the workplace, you think about differences in communication, difference in conflict resolution, or just the way that people talk to each other and deal with each other. Differences in terms of time off, in terms of leadership and hierarchy. Another area of operations that we are going to talk a little bit about as well is finance, right? There are aspects of a finance plan that you're going to be working on here this week, putting that all together. And all of this stuff really is going to be supported not only by live in-class lectures, if you're taking this course in person, or by the videos that follow. Please check those things out. That's going to very specifically outline the kinds of things you should be learning about and what you will need to know in order to execute your business plan appropriately. As usual, I wish you all the best. If there's anything that I can do to support you, to help you out in this process, please reach out to me as usual, and good luck. I'll see you next time.